Hello. Testing. Good evening, everybody. Well, so yeah, come on. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I'm Scott Lewis. This is my creations along the room. A couple of things before. We're going to have a spoken word segment where we're going to have some of my very talented friends do their interpretations of some of the stories. So we're very excited by that. A couple of things. If you could sign the guest book. If you like my work, please sign it. If you don't like my work, please sign it also. And a couple of other things. Very special night, besides the fact that I'm having this great show in this fantastic city of Philadelphia. It's my wife Fiona's birthday, so that's she actually asked for me to get an art show on her birthday, so I'm just joking. So I'd like to invite my very talented readers to come up. You know who you are. We have Jane. That's it, come on, let's... Becca. Who else is out here? I believe Jeff Krulik, the very famous filmmaker, came all the way from Washington. Is everybody familiar with Heavy Metal Parking Lot? This is the genius behind everybody.
Half one.
The other way, yeah.
And who else do we have? We have Eric, who's going to read, Eric Bressler. And Chris Bito. Where's Chris? There's Chris. It's part of the show. It's part of that.
Save the beer! Save the beer!
So,
Save the liver.
we're going to rotate around, and first we're going to hear Jane is going to read Dorothea. So let's give Jane a hand.
Dorothea was aced once again by Heidi. Heidi oozes confidence. No one else could have carried off the mask and glove combination with such panache. Without effort, her ability to captivate is amazing. Women envy her, men are intimidated. Her hair slightly wild, quads firm, triceps and biceps taut, and her sense of color lush. And her smirk is perfect. It was both inviting and powerful. Lips parted in a way that made her seem to know the answer to any question before it was asked. She is knowledgeable. She knows how to apply the right degree of pressure. It's the kind of force that lets one know that she is in charge. And all this comes naturally for Heidi. You could see signs of this when she worked summers at Zach's aluminum sign shop. When a sign was returned because of a spelling or design error, she would put on heavy-duty work gloves and punch the error. This dent was a sign for all. It said, "You make a mistake and I am pointing it out." Dorothea was absolutely positive that tonight her look was right. Years of research, preparation, and exercise finally came together. There were times when her look was almost there. About 7 months ago, preparing for an evening of dancing at Little Joe and Big Bo's, she thought she got it. The skirt was the right length, hair so shiny that it looked like old shellac 78s, her breasts discreetly yet provocatively displayed in silky white. But her expression, wrong. It was weak, lacking in confidence. Those who knew her would chuckle to themselves that when push came to shove, there would be no push. It was all in the way her lips bent into a content smile, not what she needed. Even the lizard green lipstick did not help. She needed and wanted a smirk, the kind of smirk that would let whoever she met knew that behind whiplashed eyelashes she knew better and more, and was capable of more. Maybe because the look did not have the experience to back it up, the smile was not a smirk. But one of Dorothea's best qualities was hard work. When others would give up, she was just getting started. Maybe it was because of growing up in a large family. She was used to competition. She went beyond giving it her best. She gave excellence. If she lost, well, she tried. So the smile needed to be replaced by the smirk, and she was determined to do it. She did the physical work necessary, stretching, bending, and spent hours working on her kicks. The kicks became so precise that she was able to blacken both of Billy's eyes when he tried to help Dorothea clean the garage. Mutual friends laughed when they asked him what happened. He used to say that he got hit by a swinging door. Everybody broke up when Eric said that must have happened going in and coming out. Everyone knew the truth, which was good for Dorothea's developing reputation. It was believed by many that this reputation helped get Dorothea her first job as a returns clerk at the local Grand Buy. With naturally strong arms, customers were impressed by her ability to lift TVs and home entertainment units as long as they were packed in their original boxes. It was at this point that her following started. Real hi-fi nuts, men who were always purchasing the latest in entertainment electronics. They quickly became recognizable. She would see them about every 30 days as the store warranties were about to expire. They would drag in their units, projectors, and receivers and watch intently as Dorothea effortlessly lifted them. Staring at the veins in her as the veins in her arms darkened, they would make little jokes about how the equipment did not match their expectations, that they needed something stronger, tougher, and stylish. But woe to the customer who did not have a receipt. And as plans for the evening were forming and Heidi was doing the last-minute hair tousle, Dorothea was left to wonder if she really had been giving it enough of an effort. The corners of her mouth curled down. There would be no smirk tonight.
Now Becca will read Red Eye.
Too much food, guzzling beer, eating candy, licking ice cream, shooting pinball, spinning around on rides, smoking joints, petting farm animals, tongues meeting tongues, pulling slot machines, and jerking heads in time to the music. It was an amazing night. Every August, East Blueview Beach had its annual festival and 5-H farm show. It ran from Thursday through Saturday. Bobby, Scully, Dennis, Bert, and Laura were psyched. They had gone every night and had a blast. Marvin had gone the first night but got into a fight at the corn dog stand. He had been drunk and was positive that the guy standing next to him had spit in his beer, so he took a swing at him and wound up popping some woman in the ear. State troopers had to break up the ensuing fight. Marvin spent the night in jail and was told if he tried to come back, it would be thrown out on his butt. He wound up having to do community service by picking up trash along the viaduct. But he had to go back to the festival. Saturday night was the all-out best. The Stendard Rendered Band was headlining and with the Tennessee Skies opening. They had such a good time that none of them could remember the full evening. Each one took a turn to remind the others what happened. They were all good friends. And even though Laura had lived with Scully for about a year and was dating his cousin Marvin, everything was cool. These are the kind of times you could look back on. And they were sure glad Bobby had brought her camera and took pictures. Except the photos came back from Del Mart. Bobby used a cheap camera that her grandma had given her. This caused lots of red eye.
Chris will now entertain us with Hank.
Okay, Hank, you look like William Shatner over there. You just need the mic. Thank you. I shouldn't be, I digress. Same as any other night, muttered Hank. Different place, but a lot of the same crowd. That was cheers. Hank approached the evening with a positive attitude. Think like a champ, and you'll get a champ's reward. Told by a sales assistant that orange would highlight the many angles of his cheekbones, he wore his new sweater. Hank, however, did not put up a champ's fight. Lloyd, Hank was intimidated by Lloyd. Lloyd had social skills that Hank could only act out in his dreams. Where are you going? You're killing me. Confident, gregarious, no strong opinions, and most importantly, the ability to be smarmy without being obnoxious, such as like that Eric Clapton song, which we just heard, which was smarmy and obnoxious. Lloyd was holding court. Attractive blonde named Corrine was running her fingers through his head, trying to play with his mind. Case in point. Lloyd was so cool. He gave her just enough to keep her interested. He joked about this to Gretchen, who let out a screeching laugh, which you really can't do on a bass. Whoa. You're way ahead of me. We're reading the same story. Honest, we are reading the same story. I'm not lying. Hank was tired. Hank tried to think of something to say, but he was drawing blanks. His head was spinning. Should he talk about the election? The recent mudslides? Would anyone care about his promotion? I'm walking on sunshine. Too much pressure. Should he tell a joke? Okay, this is the audience participation part. Audience, you participate. There were two birds sitting on a fence. This is my dad's joke when I was like this tall. There were two birds sitting on a fence. One was named Pete, one was named Repeat. Pete flew away. Who was left? There were two birds sitting on a fence. One was named Pete, one was named Repeat. Pete flew away. Who was left? Suckers. It seemed more and more the crowd was drawn to Lloyd and his charisma. Hank could only stare into his mug, weep, and think if orange really was his color.
We have to give a hand to Bert. Is it Bert? Bert? That's fantastic mudslide theme, wasn't that? And now Jeff is going to read Amber.
That's a tough one to follow. I can't see that. Oh.
So actually, it just says Amber, but the actual image is it's that very voluptuous blonde. Oh, there she is. Okay, I'm sorry. Amber is back in the room.
Amber dreamed of stardom. She was told she had the look and talent to make it. After winning titles such as Our Miss Personable, Holiday Queen of Belvedere Mountain, and Miss New Teen, she knew she must head to Hollywood. Her parents, Bruce and Renee, agreed. They always knew that Amber was special. They knew it when they both looked at each other and nodded during Amber's performance in the Carter Public School talent show. At age 6, she sang the show tune classic, "Night may be dark, but my days are bright." Her performance was so moving, one lunchroom attendant cried. In the show's second act, Amber had the audience in stitches when she donned an oversized newsboy cap and floppy plaid bow tie and imitated the great 1930s comedian Sorrowful O'Brien. She even recreated his famous, "But that's what they told me," routine. From that day forward, a theatrical career seemed inevitable. It was further confirmed when it was her turn to glisten during the swimsuit portion of the Miss Passion Fruit beauty pageant, sponsored by Summer Radiance Tanning Solutions. Although it made Bruce uncomfortable seeing how the men in the audience reacted, he understood that hers was a beauty that could not be ignored. Landing bit parts in films like The House by Blood Swamp and Freshman Winter Recess 3, The Race is On, made her a legend back home and even more determined to succeed. Being seen in New View magazine photos dating hot young rock star Derek King further increased her visibility as a face on the rise. It was just a matter of time.
Jane will now read JOCELYN.
JOCELYN was smart enough to realize the value of Derek's stupidity and anger, and he dressed very well. If you're going to play with jerks, at least make it a well-dressed jerk. Derek was the kind of guy who went along with it, whether it made sense or not. This made him the perfect ploy accomplice. He felt he was getting something out of it. Well, that something was inconsequential to JOCELYN. She was very focused in these matters. The phone number exchange had to not only be timed right, but at the proper angle with the correct lighting. The scene created had to get its point across in a flash. It would be an image that would remain active in an unsuspecting mind. It would be reviewed and analyzed again and again. The viewer would question, did I really see that? The images would stick and become the scene that would never end, the eternal late-night rerun. It was at times like this that JOCELYN identified with the great German silent film directors. Derek is always ready, his hands reflexing into a fist almost as often as he blinks. The thought of anything going wrong never enters Derek's mind. He has no time for that. Derek feels that losers worry about things going wrong. So what if something goes wrong? Just walk away, keep walking, and it's way behind you. History. There are people like Ed to worry about things going wrong. Let them. Those are the ones who like to keep going over things in their head. What a waste of time. It distracts so much that they can't think of important things like eating or going to Crescent Bay to play the slots or driving fast. Or what a fine ass JOCELYN has. And how am I going to help her out and maybe get something in return? Actually, not maybe, definitely. I'm just being polite. Rich desserts have a special place, not only in Ted's stomach, but in his heart. Ted studies desserts the way an architect studies his designs. He thinks the average dessert lover only cares about the flavor. The statement, "it tasted better than it looks," offends him. Desserts have a fundamental aesthetic that must be adhered to. It needs to look good. It must have balance and a firm foundation. It needs to have delectable colors. It needs to make a statement. It needs to have a mysterious energy that sets it apart from other treats, and it needs to have a berry or cherry, preferably on top of a delectable cream. However, others do not appreciate Ted's passion. He's snickered at, and in his quest to be quickly exposed to many desserts, he usually stains his clothes. He has found that to truly savor desserts, he must do it in private, like out by the pool the night of Mickey's birthday party. But the joy of digesting his potpourri of sweets was interrupted. It was the image. Could I be wrong? Maybe I'm wrong, but that sure looked that way. What if I'm not wrong? What if I think I'm so right that if I tell someone, they would say, it can't be, you're wrong. Ted can have his desserts, thinks his brother Ed. For him, exotic cocktails accessorized with little umbrellas are worth the calories. It's like sending your mouth and mind on a tropical adventure. The enticing blending of flavors, the intense colors, the crisp sensations extinguishing a warm weather thirst, and the names of the beverages, a rumble rum eruption, a poco loco, a wayward schooner, and his favorite, a bally very high. JOCELYN never shared, as Ted called it, the lore of the tropical drink. But she could mix a great one. It was funny that she never tried one. She said that the umbrellas, custom swizzle sticks, and fruit riding the glass rim made it difficult for her to smoke and drink at the same time. Many a night she would light up, pour herself some red wine, and would then create a cocktail for Ed, and then another, and then another. Soon the soft hum of the air conditioner became the sound of a gentle lapping ocean, and the couch became a hammock. And then before he knew it, it was morning and waking up in the living room. Friends could not understand the connection between Ed and JOCELYN, but he knew she was all right. Whenever he woke up after too many of JOCELYN's cocktails, the apartment would be empty. But a few hours later, she would arrive with bagels. For Mickey's party, JOCELYN insisted on making a pitcher after pitcher of fantastic concoctions. It was a great party. Boy, Mickey knows a lot of people, Ed thought as he sat caressing a frosty Casa Coco Rico adorned with teal umbrellas and fluorescent green mixing stick topped with an octopus. He was feeling marvelous, even though he could not stand. He smugly chuckled to himself. JOCELYN looked as gorgeous as ever tonight. While he was not the best-looking guy on the block and never lost the weight he had gained after junior high, he was smart and knew how to make money. By adding TVs and snack bars to his chain of laundries, business had gone up by 39%. He turned to give JOCELYN a kiss, but she was gone. She had just been right next to him. I must have nodded off for a few minutes. Oh, the lore of the tropical drink, he giggled. Hey, Ted, come over here. Sit down next to your big brother. Hey, what's with the look? You feeling sick? You gotta lay off those desserts. Come on, sit down, have a drink and tell me what's new.
Becca? I know you were mesmerized by that. Sasha by Becca.
Sasha, the aerialist, was concerned about Bing Bong the Clown's attention to Kira. Sasha had met Kira when both of their troops became members of the Cirque du Soleil. That was about 4 months ago. Sasha and his family, the Flying Gorbettes, were all nimble, graceful with rope-like muscles coursing through arms, legs, and necks. Kira, who descended from a long line of animal trainers, liked to tease and control her subjects. She was known for her agility with a bullwhip and her skill in getting a booming double crack sound from it. With a knowing smile and a confident stride, Kira's authority was never a question. When Sasha first encountered Kira, he was both in awe and shaken. He was attracted to her, and yet felt tense around her. Sasha's cousin Ula warned Sasha to balance his emotions and not tumble. Many had been and were intoxicated by Kira. Sasha remembered one night at the Blind Cock pub in White Hills overhearing Loopy, Ari, and Herbert discussing Kira. They mentioned the names of other performers who had been close to Kira. One name familiar was a clown named Jolly Wally, who one day changed his act and name to Woeful Wally. Gone were the belly laughs, now replaced by a performance of introspective irony. All three nodded in agreement that after Kira and Wally parted, so did his jolly. Sasha believed that at the time that they were all sour because of Kira's billing in the show. Loopy did a drunk tightrope act, and Ari and Herbert, both heavily muscled, did an intense human balancing act. For example, Ari would lie on his back, extend one leg in the air, and the larger Herbert would stand upon Ari's foot while Ari lifted him up and down. There were also many whispers about their relationship. No one remembers the last time they saw Bing Bong without his makeup. Few even knew his real name. Some believed it was Max. Others thought Clotaire. When asked for his real name, he would sternly say, "It is Bing Bong." His face was a dense layer upon layer of makeup. his pants shiny and stained. Never did his wig leave his head, the gloves a permanent second skin upon his hands. Bing Bong's philosophy was that a clown was a superman among men. Bing Bong believed that, felt that, and became that. A clown is royalty. A clown is all you want or nothing you want. A clown can make you laugh, cry, and want to protect him. You could be tricked, confused, and outraged by him, or seduced by him. A clown controls. Sasha's suspicion of Bing Bong's intentions were confirmed one evening during a very intense part of the trapeze act when he performed with his cousin Vasily.
Chris will now do Tate.
We're reading from the book of Tate. What? No? There's plenty to go around. Now, Tate, as you will find out, loved a good party. So I brought some good party hors d'oeuvres. Cold tater tots and Vienna sausages with really nifty toothpicks, ketchup, and mustard. Help yourselves, please, in honor of Tate.
He's serious. You just tater.
I'm not kidding around here, folks. It's over there. Eat it. Just eat it. How far can you go without doing damage with this thing? Can I bust up the fourth wall? Can I bust the fourth wall?
Yeah.
Can I bust it? Can I break it? Can I hurt it? You just start and I'll jump right in because you're the bass man. Bass man. You're the bass man from Spaceman. Tate had a dilemma. He finally needed to move out of his sister's basement. It wasn't that he could not afford his own place. It was the handling, the upkeep. That worried him. Cleaning, shopping, and this is a 5-syllable word. I'm gonna need a little help here. Come here. Somebody with a 5. Can read this 5-syllable word. Right there.
What? That one? Right there?
That big word.
Exterminator?
That's the word.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
All right.
Say it loud, say it proud.
Exterminator.
Yeah. I'm not programmed to do 5-syllable words. No one needs a 5. That what did they call that in grade school? That was a 50-cent word. The usual. Besides, he was always crashing his best pal Nicodemus' place after hitting the bars. Tate would still be living in his sister's place if it wasn't for his brother-in-law, Julius. He told Tate he needed to move out pronto because his younger brother was moving in with his girlfriend. Whose girlfriend? What girlfriend? I don't know. Julius offered Tate the laundry room as a spot to sleep. Oh, come on now. Even though there might be some advantages to this, Tate took it as a sign that maybe it was time to move on. He was never that concerned with having clean clothes anyway. That would explain the smell now, wouldn't it? Tate found a flat on Lannon Street, which was small but livable. He wanted everyone to know about his new status as a cool guy. Hence the bass. With his own pad, so he decided to have a party. He got together with Nicodemus for party planning advice. Nicodemus thought about it, then realized he had no advice. He had never thrown a party. His place was too small. Tate asked Boyd, who said, if I had a party in my space, there would not be enough room for me to attend. He next asked Rochelle, who said that her place was so tiny she barely had enough room to shower. That would explain the smell. He Tate spoke to Paige, Wally, Choo Choo, who all said they never had parties in their apartments because there was no room. You're from New York, aren't you?
That's right.
Okay. Everyone Tate knew pretty much had the same answer. Tate ultimately realized he'd never been to any of his friends' houses. Never been to their homes. Never. They would call each other or pick a bar or a club to meet. They were all too hung up on embarrassed about the size of where they lived. Walking home from the Anchor and Sink with Nicodemus one night, they joked about alternative locations for having a party. Eat the tater tots. Stupid stuff, like the fourth car on the 8 train, renting a blimp, Mount Jock Cemetery, or in the sea. As they waited by traffic light, Tate noticed workers from Atlantean Power Energy and Sewage going in and out of an open manhole. Nicodemus laughed and said, "Man, there's probably a lot of room down there." They walked about 5 steps and looked at each other. That was 3 years and 50 parties ago. Music sounded great. The thick walls made the bass just thunder. And no uptight neighbors to worry about. There was never much worry about having to clean up. You just moved to a different sewer. Except for the occasional vermin and smelly urine, it was perfect. Eat up.
Tater tots, courtesy of Chris. Now, Eric's going to entertain us with Dexter.
Hey, everybody.
I'd like to thank Eric for the opportunity to allow me to exhibit my artwork here. I'd like to
It's totally our pleasure, Scott. All right, here we go. And a heads up, we're about to wrap up these stories, and then moments later, Laban will take the stage. And if you're totally unfamiliar, it works to your advantage. Highly recommend you stick around, and dancing is encouraged. Tonight, I'll be reading Scott's story titled Dexter, and I'll be accompanied by improvised sound effects done by my fiancée, Carly, in the back. Let's see how this goes. Dexter thought he was the special one. All right. For 4 months, he had been a steady, and he would like to think generous, guest at the Adam Looking for Eve escort service and lounge. He had tried other similar establishments. He considered them as clubs because everyone there shared common interests. Objective, have a good time. No other clubs had the pizzazz and vibrancy of the Adam. The loudest laughing, strongest cocktails, and the hippest decor.
Hip.
And no place else had a chick like Honey. The other girls were okay. He would have his fun, his sex, and move on. That's the main reason he frequented the scene. He did not want any involvement that required following up. No thank you calls. What are you doing this Friday calls? No stupid arguments about why he was late, why he poured chocolate syrup on his pancakes, and the thousands of other dumbass attitudes he had to deal with when involved in steady relationships. When entering his clubs, he was treated with respect. Nothing to prove. He had money, good clothes, he worked out.
Fancy.
And he was a fucking riot.
Oh!
He once had Todd laugh so hard while driving, his glasses fell off and they rear-ended a Happy Giggles ice cream truck, which made them laugh even more. Where did we fill in the space, Carly? He wanted to be in control and make choices that would please only him, whichever one struck his eye, and never more than 2 appointments with the same escorter. For them, he would not be a client, but a treat to be with such a stud. But Honey was the best. She was the wildest, and he actually found her interesting. She was a great lay and had this real sarcastic way of speaking to him that cracked him up. He joked to her that honey was his favorite flavor. Gag on it, she replied. He thought of her more and more. He came to the lounge so often requesting her companionship that Tammy would announce to the lounge, Honey, your gentleman caller is here again. Dexter felt that they had such a cool relationship that he could appear at any time and receive his proper attention. On his Thursday lunch break, he showed up and saw Honey lazing on a sofa. He had a little surprise to share with her. She hadn't seen him. He took off his clothes and put it on.
Surprise!
His excitement ruined any chance of discretion. But it did not matter because he was Dexter.
Dun, dun, dun.
Honey turned to see him standing erect. She snickered and said, "You have now gone beyond your usual high standard of pathetic. Congratulations." The others in the room roared.
Oh!
Realization set in that all along she was not joking, but mocking him. As he turned to shrink away, he knew he would have to find a new club. Thank you.
Woo!
Jeff Krulik reading Morgan.
Morgan. Well, of course. After 3 seasons on the road, the Enchanted Amusements Traveling Carnival troupe grew irritated with each other. Working long hours and forced to live in compact, strained conditions was a combustible formula. Traits once charming and attractive became ugly and selfish. You could only hear the same story, complaint, or crush, and tales of subsequent heartbreak so many times. While audiences saw joyful faces, resentment was the truth. The old joke that the knife thrower was not a show's only backstabber had a prick of truth. You never know who to trust or confide in. Night after night, small towns blending into medium small towns and cities. Costumes from a distance looking glittery, sexy, and heroic were really worn and sourly pungent. But like everything else, only when you were in it, living and breathing the life, did you know it. Viewed from the stands, it was all fantasy and courage. The handsome, beautiful, and brave. The agile, clever, and seductive. Weeknights, 3 performances on Saturdays and 2 on Sundays, then pack and travel on. The hours after an evening's last spectacle, before hitting the road, brought out the worst in these merry performers. It was time to unwind, become real, and try and drop the act. Morgan was visibly upset. Heavy tears swam down colorful cheeks. Morgan had peeked around the loony balloon and dastardly dart stall and saw Cindy in intimate conversation with Todd. Cindy relished all attention and enjoyed the game. Good or bad, her objective was to be noticed and to hold and twist that attention. Todd, the handsome, egotistical lead rider in the Globe of Death, was very willing. Cindy was a versatile performer who seductively inhabited her costume. Whether scooping at the creamy treat cart or pitching in at the tent of terror, she drew a response. Her favorite role was as Countess Cinderella, predictor of fortunes. This grand title allowed her an opportunity to be creative and toy with drunken minds. Insincerity, an exhilarating feeling, and a quality she was keenly proud of. Morgan was cowed by Cindy. Morgan had believed there was a connection with Todd after some tequila-enhanced flirting. Seeing them now tightly together was painful. Morgan felt like a gullible fool. Van, the escape artist, always saw himself as a peacemaker, sensitive to all. When stress was high, his calming manner and little jokes were a relief. One of his favorite bits was to pretend he was locked inside a bathroom stall and cry out, "Help, I am trapped." Seeing Morgan upset, he offered drinks and cheer, but the tears kept streaming. Coleman, gripping his medicine, wobbled by on rubbery legs. Van yelled to Coleman to lend a hand, comforting Morgan. Coleman, the eternal huckster, with a bloodshot bally pitch. He had been in character for so long, the original Coleman evaporated. A true veteran of the Midway. Name it, he did it. Even Cooch shows. Now Coleman ran the petting zoo during the day and the popular Dirty Disco Challenge, over 18s only, late on Saturday nights. But he never lost his sense of humor. He glanced at Van and kept on stumbling. Van hollered to Coleman, "Got some time for a drink? Got some time for a drink and to cheer up a pal?" Without hesitation, I have had seen it all before, and I am not interested in seeing any more," bellowed Coleman. He self-congratulatory snickered and continued staggering away.
We will now continue with more happy stories. Jane will read Jessica.
Jessica and Sebastian always look forward to their walks together. It gives them both the chance to chat and indulge in their hobby of making new friends. Though not related or married, they consider themselves a relation closer than friends. When they met at Wayne's party, they were thrilled to learn that they both share a common obsession, the beauty of the common man or woman. And what better place to view such beauty than flowing exhibitions of the streets, parks, and city waterways? An endless parade of both the classic and cutting edge, each season adding its own charm. The moodiness of fall texturing the subject with swirling dried leaves. Winter figures become huddled cubist shapes as they force themselves through the cold. Energized physiques stretching into the spring glimmer. But summer, oh yeah, summer. That is the best time of year for Jessica and Sebastian to savor their objects of art. The temperature is causing the works to glisten like a varnish finish. And when the heat intensifies, these collectibles' slow, languid movements give the viewer an opportunity to truly appreciate their fine points. Like all great art, they search for that which is unique. They fancy themselves connoisseurs of the human form. There are times their viewing reaches points of intense mutual appreciation so fevered that they must possess the object. They are collectors, even if it is only for a short time.
And now, our last story and our last reader, Becca, will tell us about Max and Clarissa.
Max and Clarissa always had to be the first to hit the trendiest night spots. Getting up early in the morning meant 2 p.m. 4 p.m. was much more sensible. They lived for the hopeful thrill and rush of the night scene. They were present on the opening night of the Pet Shop set Really Wild Kingdom. They sipped cocktails at the Ringalivio Rum Room's premiere. They danced into the long broken rays of the morning sun at the LLOG cabin, the legendary nightery that lasted a scant 5 days. Located far along the Blue Trail in Weeping Mulberry State Park, it was quickly silenced by park rangers. Not because of the noise. It was closed down because clubgoers trampled and ruined the trails. Visitors did not want to hike, very hard in high heels, to the LLOG. Instead, they drove or took taxis, which ruined the hiking paths. Disturbing, shrill car horns terrified the forest's animal inhabitants. The artificial scent of perfume and hair gel piercing headlights put creatures on guard against these amusement seekers. Plus, wandering through a forest lit only by moonlight made following trail markings difficult and led to many fancy attired merrymakers needing rescuing and insect repellent. Max and Clarissa felt that they were the pulse of the after hours, the Duke and Duchess of diversion. Yet somehow they missed the unveiling of Sparky's House of Sparks. A powerful buzz was generated after Sparky's premiere night, a buzz that built to a screech in both of their now beautiful people dented minds, hoping that it was not because they were no longer in the know, no longer the couple who knew what was hot, no longer the duo whose lifestyle was envied and gossiped about. It must have been some mistake. People they know needed to do a better job of listening to others instead of usual empty nodding and smiling. Possibly someone did mention Sparky's, but they were too absorbed in their looking attractive to hear it. After all, preening is important and takes concentration. Yes, that was it. Be a better listener. But that would take work. Maybe just act like a better listener. That should be enough. Max and Clarissa arrived to Sparky's second night flush with delirious expectations, a new people-friendly attitude to go along with their already legendary visual appeal. After all, Sparky's promised an electrifying experience. Now with their presence, that promise would absolutely be met.
I'd like to thank all my readers, and I'd like to thank again everybody for coming out and listening to the stories and enjoy the artwork. And Laban is coming up soon. Thank you.